Our never-ending hunt for the tenuous connections between mansions and motor cars continues. In this episode, Jay and Donald visit Bowery Rose, an early addition to Newport's cityscape built in the Italianate style, where they drive Porsche's clever response to hidebound consumers, BMW's potent entry to the world of turbocharging, and the last generation of an American legend, the Pontiac GTO. Buckle up and pedal down with the odd couple. It's Audrain Mansions and Motorcars.
Jay, here we are, and another wonderful day in Newport, and another very interesting car, and you'll see as we drive these three cars today, this 1966 Porsche 912, a 2004 Pontiac GTO, and a 1974 BMW 2002 Turbo, what they have in common with the wonderful historic house we're going to visit today, Bowery Rose.
I see, okay, the tenuous connection. Yeah.
This connection is so delightfully tenuous. I think it's probably one of my best.
Really? Okay, that means it's one of my worst. So
correct.
That'll be fascinating. You know, this is an interesting car. I remember when this came, tell me if I have this wrong, they were kind of hedging their bets. They weren't sure if people would like the new 911 with the new 6-cylinder motor, which costs more money. So they decided to, let's build, quote, a Volkswagen type Porsche, just for people that don't, you know, the little 4-cylinder, keep the old 4-cylinder from the 356. And this was sort of a cheaper alternative to the more expensive 911, correct?
Well, yes and no. Most of the story that you just told is really the story of the birth of the 914 a few years later, but This car, the first part of what you said was absolutely right. When they introduced the 911 in late 1964, a lot of the Porsche purists said, this is not a Porsche. A Porsche is a 356. It's the car we know. It's the car we love. This 6-cylinder thing added weight and complication. Who needs it?
Right.
And so to get back some of those loyalists, Porsche thought, okay, fine. We'll take the engine from the last 356, the 356 SC, and we'll put it into the 911 shell, and we'll make it the 912. Now, the interesting thing about it, I've often joked that this car is sort of the 356D, you know, the next iteration of the 356. But Porsche made a very curious decision when they did this, because they put in the engine in the last 356, which had 95 horsepower in the 356 SC, and detuned it to 90 horsepower in this car, which actually weighs 50 pounds more than the 356.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, you know, the idea that you're getting this sort of lighter, more nimble car is sort of offset by the fact that they took a little bit of the power away. So I think they were trying to get back the loyalists while also subtly steering people towards the 911.
Well, I remember in the early 70s when these would come up for sale, dirt cheap.
Absolutely.
Why would anybody, but by that time, the 911 had proven itself. And why would you get the old 4-cylinder? And people looked at it like an economy car. It'd be, quote, for your spouse who doesn't really like to drive, whatever it might be. It was like a...
Or your first Porsche.
Yeah, your first Porsche, whatever it might be. But 912s, I wouldn't say they were giving them away, but they were dirt cheap.
Yeah, they were not very highly regarded in the market. And some of the Porsche purists really looked down on them, which I think is a shame, because I think these cars do have a certain charm of their own, you know? If you don't compare them to a more powerful example, then there's a lot to enjoy. It's like a lot of the 2-liter European touring cars, the Mercedes 190 SL, the Alfa 2000 Touring Spider. These were cars that perhaps the looks promised more than they delivered, but they were designed just to be great sort of sporty, fun cruisers.
Right. And as I remember correctly, as we moved into the 80s and early 90s, these started to go up in value because people realized, oh, it's lighter and it handles better than the 911 because you're saving what, 200 pounds maybe?
Exactly. And in the early short wheelbase cars, you didn't have the immediate danger of the axle swapping, which
Right.
you could get in a 911, especially a 911S of the time. So, also, it must be mentioned that this particular car we're riding in today was a donation to the Audrain Automobile Museum by David Pignolet, and a great Porsche enthusiast who thought he wanted to make sure that the Audrain could continue its mission of preserving, celebrating, and sharing automotive history by having his 912 in the collection.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I wouldn't call it a fast car, but I would call it a lively car.
Yes.
I mean, you feel like you have this extremely thin steering wheel, which I love.
Yes.
I know. I don't know why these fell out of favor. Why we have to have this thick, giant,
It's like a pool float or something.
Yeah, men with huge fingers holding onto the. There's nothing dainty. This is sort of, you can dance around with it. You just feel like it. Yeah.
And it's every driving lesson I've ever had on a track has always emphasized the fact that you don't grip the wheel with a death grip.
Right.
You hold it as lightly as you can to let the car do what it's going to do. And this is the kind of wheel that encourages you to do that.
Right.
Those big, fat, padded wheels are, something you hold on to for dear life.
The longer I drive this, the more I like it. It just has a nice feel to it.
It is a car that does grow on you, and I know that when I've driven this car, again, I just appreciate the lightness so much. It's very light, it's very airy. It is, again, one of those time machine cars, because this is a car of the mid-1960s.
Yeah, and it is. And this car would have been loaded. It had roll-up windows, had a cigarette lighter, and an AM/FM radio. That was like almost every option you could
Exactly. It really is something that begins to prove the point that we're going to see in the house we're going to see today, which is the idea of the expected and the unexpected mixed together.
Right.
So that is going to be our theme as we visit our home in Newport, Bowery Rose.
So Donald, where do you want to start?
Well, Jay, here at Bowery Rose, the gardens are as important as the house. Let's start there.
All right.
So Jay, as you can see, this house is classic Italianate architecture. And the Italianate style started in the UK in the 1810s, 1820s, and really became a real force in the US in the 1850s. It was a reaction against the classical revival. You've seen lots of those Greek revival houses with
Right.
the four columns out in front that sort of look like the Parthenon
Right,
and all of that. And this was an idea that they would want to go back to a certain sense of elegance and detail that's typical of 14th century Italian architecture. So you see it in arched windows, very elaborate brickwork, especially above the windows and above the doorways, very broad eaves on the roof. And usually these houses feature towers. This one does not have a tower, but it has the form of a tower. And that
Right.
was something that was very, very key to this style. Also porches. And this is an interesting house because, of course, it has the requisite Italianate porch. But this house was actually designed by the owner. Samuel Powell designed
Right.
this house. He trained in France. And he had great interest in architecture and science and also in botany. So he also designed the gardens of this house, which are absolutely spectacular and contain some of the most interesting and important tree specimens in all of Newport.
Well, let me ask you a naive question. Are these trees way older than the house? Were these trees here before it was built? Are they from the 1700s?
No, these trees are planted as part of Powell's plan for his gardens. So when this house was built, this was open land, it was farmland.
Okay.
And one of the special things about this place is the fact that the previous owner has deeded all of the parkland around this house to the Aquidneck Island Land Trust, so it can never be developed or disturbed. It always will be this wonderful vista, and the current owners have maintained and cherished this garden and restored it very well.
Oh, that's great.
Let's take a look at two of the really most important trees here on the property. These hornbeam trees are quite possibly the oldest in Rhode Island and maybe among the oldest in the United States. And they're very unusual because they propagate by going underneath the ground and coming up in a new location. So this is the same tree over here as over there, and two of its youngest shoots are the twin trees behind me over there.
Well, that's interesting.
So it's absolutely amazing,
Yeah.
and something that lends this garden a very, very special aura. And as we will see when we go into the house, the whole concept of indoor-outdoor living is not something that's modern and invented in California in the 1940s and 50s. You see it here in this home with these broad terraces. In addition to the typical Italianate front porch, you have this wonderful terrace here, which really, again, shows off the wonderful brickwork and the arches in the house and offers a place for family gatherings. And one of the things that we really like to talk to on these programs is the fact that these great historic houses are still lived in.
Yeah.
Life is being made in them every day. And a previous owner very sensitively actually installed a pool in a way that doesn't detract at all from the historic nature of the home, and I think lends itself quite well to this wonderful gardenscape.
Looks great.
Now let's take a look inside this wonderful house. All right, Jay, let's take a look inside Bowery Rose, and we start here in this ante-foyer with this wonderful black and white marble floor, again very typical for the Italianate style.
Okay, yeah.
Wonderful arch detail repeated in the door, and a foyer which reveals that wonderful Italian arch.
This is really New England, so you have an entranceway where you take off your coat and your boots before you come into the house, because this is a door as well, isn't it? So.
Correct. You've got, again, that's also very typical in Italy as well. So
Yeah.
it's something where the Italianate style has taken it from the original. So Jay, welcome to Bowery Rose.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Now we also see right here in the entryway the Italianate theme with this barrel ceiling, which is very typically Italian.
Yeah.
Normally it would be brickwork in the houses of the period in Italy, but that whole theme of the arch continues inside in a very, very major way. And we come to this first small sitting room, and this is, when I first saw this house, I said, this is the J room.
Oh
This
yeah, I like small rooms.
A small room, bookshelves, fireplace.
And you can close the doors off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, you see that the repetition of the arch feature in the interior shutters,
Right.
even, it's very, very strong. And here in the doorway as well, as we'll see throughout the doorways and the lintels in the house. And stepping into the living room, this is a wonderful, airy space. Samuel Powell wanted to make sure that these rooms in this house really communicated to those gardens that we've seen. So you've got these wonderful French doors in all of the rooms, and they're very open, very, very bright, especially for a house of this period, 1850s. And one of the other things, you talked about closing the rooms off. One of the cleverest things of design of this period, just step right this way.
Oh, I see. You got these sliding doors.
Pocket doors, which are
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. And these are, of course, original to the house.
Wow, they slide pretty easy, don't
They
they?
slide, well, they have been substantially
Yeah.
restored by the current owners so that they operate exactly the way they're
So if
designed
we lived
to.
here, I could put you in that room and then shut these doors.
You could, except this is the dining room, so I probably want to eat. So you can stay
Well, that's
there
true.
in the salon, and while I have my meal here in this
Well, beautiful
lovely
dining room too.
Absolutely amazing. And of course, again, Samuel Powell and family was very, very important. So he wanted to have a nice big room, and every one of the rooms again shares this airy feeling, which again is very Italianate. You see the arches again in the windows, the French window leading out to the terrace overlooking the trees. And this is a room that again would be very much a gathering place. Now, I'm going to show you something which is very interesting, but fairly typical in a lot of houses that we've seen, which is the fact that all of these rooms really reflect the architectural style of the house.
Right.
The staircase, on the other hand, is something completely different. All of a sudden, that Italianate flair is gone. It's very functional, it's very Yankee. It's, matter of fact, very classical.
Yeah.
That very idea that this house is designed, the Italianate movement was designed to fight against, that whole Greek revival idea. But this is very simple and very elemental. So it's an interesting
It is
contrast
funny
to the rest
because
of the house.
when you think of houses from the 1800s, just from countless TV shows, you think primitive log cabin. You don't think, I mean, this house could have been built 25 years ago. Not this good, probably.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, that's the original brick and everything on the outside of the house.
It is an extraordinary
It's amazing.
testament to the quality of construction and design in this house. The fact that it still functions for a modern family today.
Right, yeah.
Samuel Powell did a great job. And now let's see if we can find that same level of modern function in a revival of something that we're going to see in this Pontiac GTO.
Let's take a look.
Really exciting.
Donald, I got something here I think you're going to like.
Well, I cannot wait to sample this car.
Yeah, this is, I think, I think these are destined to really become a classic. They handle, they're fast. Tell me what you think.
Well, Jay, we are driving in something again slightly unexpected, just as we were in what people might think is a six-cylinder new model Porsche, which has a lot to do with the old days of Porsche, pre-911. Mm-hmm. We are driving in a Pontiac GTO, which is not what most people think of when they think of Pontiac GTOs.
Well, it's interesting. This is probably the best iteration of the GTO when you think about it, in terms of four-wheel disc brakes, V8. You know, the 60s versions were the reason muscle car insurance is so expensive. Although Pontiac, I always thought, had the best handling cars in the GM division. They did the best suspension work and handling work. It still was not up to the power of the vehicle. I mean, you could easily overpower the brakes, overpower the steering, oversteer every corner, the whole deal. Whereas this is a nice balance. And I was sure this would be a hit. In fact, I was with Bob Letts when we introduced this, and it was in Vegas, and I was just there as a fan because I thought, oh, this is cool. I think when people drove it, they loved it. The trouble was it wasn't exciting enough to look at.
That's the thing that I was reading some of the contemporary road tests of the car when it came out, and I thought, wow, how horrifyingly unfair they were.
Yeah.
They kept saying, well, I like the idea, but the car looks boring, and it just doesn't have that kind of raw excitement that we expect from a GTO. And I think it was some of the refinement that this car has that they didn't get.
Yeah, and also this was not built in Detroit. This is built in Australia. This is a Holden.
A Holden Monaro.
A Holden Monaro, that's right. And as I remember, to save money when they brought them into the American market, you didn't have electric windows or central locking. No, I guess you had electric windows. This one does, yeah. You didn't have center. There were a few things you didn't have that people kind of expected. The rear windows don't go down, correct? Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah. So it's just things people go, hey, wait a minute, I thought it was a great handling car. It's really a four-seater Corvette. You've got the Corvette
it's got the LS1 engine, 350 horsepower. And let's go back to the Holden Monaro for a moment, because that's one of the things that I really love about this car that some of the contemporary reviewers didn't like. I love the design of this car, and the Holden Monaro, which this is based on, was the car that made our friend Mike Simcoe, the recently retired head of GM Design, a star.
Right.
This is the car that he penned, and I think that, again, I am a real fan of elemental designs. Even the rear wing, which this has, which the Holden Monaro did not have, and which he was not a big fan of, by the way, doesn't detract from the shape.
Right.
It doesn't look sort of tacked on boy racer. And this car is a 2004, so it's 21 years old. It feels solid as a rock. This example has 83,000 miles on it, and I think it's a testament to what these cars are.
It's a wonderful driving car, and if you like what the English call a Q-ship, which is a sedan that looks sedate but has a lot of muscle under the hood, this is a perfect example of that. But it just didn't meet what people expected a GTO to be. The Corvette was exciting, but the GTO was affordable. And it's just as exciting as a Corvette, there's just something, I don't know. I wish that you'd done the hood tack, maybe a nice scoop in the front somewhere. But a great car. Everybody I know that has these, and you can buy them for next to nothing on the used car market now.
Yeah.
They hold up extremely well.
Not used. These are now collector cars.
Well, I guess, sorry.
Yes, in the collector car market. This is a fantastic car.
I know.
It really
Isn't it surprising? You know, I've got a 68 Firebird, and we redid the suspension, but even stock, I felt it handled better than the comparable Camaro, only because I was more of a Firebird guy than a Camaro guy.
Yeah.
I always thought Pontiac put just a little extra work in the suspension.
This car now is a 20-year-old car, and it's enough time for its intrinsic qualities to either rise to the surface or sink to the bottom.
Right.
And I think that this is a car that can be much better appreciated in the collector car sphere than perhaps it was as a new car.
But just a little thing like it says on the dash, GTO airbag. Don't have GTO and airbag in the same. You know what I'm saying? It should say GTO performance, and then put airbag over here. It's got a GTO airbag.
It's a bespoke GTO airbag. Yeah. It releases itself in a much more powerful and direct and linear way.
Well, I'm excited about our next car.
Well, Jay, so am I, and just as this was unexpected to see the GTO nameplate come back in a car very different from the last one, what we'll see is a car which is very familiar to lots of people, but in a flavor that was completely new.
Donald, I'm going to introduce you to part of my youth.
And mine as well, Jay.
Oh yeah, these were just unbelievable in their day.
So the third in our group of cars today is this 1974 BMW, and this is very familiar looking, a typical BMW 2002, but not quite so typical.
Well, it's got the turbo on it. I spent my youth prepping these cars. I worked at a place called Foreign Motors in Boston on Commonwealth Avenue, and we had Mercedes, Peugeot, BM, anything foreign. We just carried anything foreign, And these were a huge hit because you had a lot of young guys started maturing, getting married. They couldn't have the MG or the TR3 or TR4 anymore. And this was a sedan, weatherproof, winters and all that kind of stuff in New England. And they were just a huge hit. They sold a gazillion of these. The closest comparison I could probably make is Subaru. Subaru made a huge impression in New England because of its ability to traverse snow and all that kind of thing. And these were somewhat the same way. I love these cars. I was gone by the time the turbo came out, but from 69 to 72, 73, it was all BMWs. This is a nice looking car, but I prefer the earlier round taillight model.
Taillight, yeah.
Yeah. Why they do that, I don't know. It must be some government regulation or something. Because the round taillights always look better in any car.
Well, I think they did it for two reasons. One was because of increased visibility for the taillights. The second was to make it look more modern.
Right, yeah.
Because the round taillights were sort of old-fashioned looking by the time you get to the mid-70s.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting thing, too, about these cars. I love these cars when they were brand new, and I came slightly close to actually buying a 2002 when I was in college. I had a VW Scirocco,
right, and
I had a neighbor who was a BMW, Rolls-Royce, and Oldsmobile dealer. Great combination. And one weekend he brought home a metallic persimmon 2002 Tii, and I thought, wow, this car is absolutely amazing. He said, Donald, do you want to have it for the weekend? I said, sure. And he was a very, very smart guy. He sold a lot of cars because he knew, like someone who might deal in illicit substances, just give them a taste. Let them try it and see if they can give it up. I drove the car for a weekend and I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. So he said, well, so what do you think? I said, I think it's great. This will come as a great amusement to the younger viewers of this video, but I turned it down because it cost $4,500.
Right.
and the Scirocco, fully equipped, was $3,700, and so the price differential was just too much, so I bought another Scirocco instead.
I know, it's funny, you know, because you realize this was the same price as a Buick Electra.
These cars, though, also came from the age when the turbos, which are being used in racing, of course, in Formula One at the time, which were absolutely ridiculous. They had these turbo qualifying engines that would put out 1,200 horsepower,
right,
and basically be good for 2 laps,
right,
and then they blow up. And when the turbo comes on in a car like this, or the Porsche 930, it was a very big deal. The supercharger, though, of course, would give you more additional horsepower and power through a wider range than the turbo. But and watching the turbo gauge here, again, we're driving around town and on very small roads here, the very modest speed limit. The boost gauge is barely getting up into its middle section and has not hit the green full boost section.
Let's try green full boost. Oh,
there it is.
I mean, that catches up fast.
Yes. These cars also make a really nice sound. You know, today there's so many cars that people have put sort of performance exhausts on, which are all sound of very little fury.
And it's so nice to have this non-power assisted steering.
Yeah. Very direct. And you know, there's a reason why, much to my horror and chagrin, that BMW was able to establish itself as the manufacturer of sports sedans, with cars like the 2002 Tii and certainly this turbo.
Let's see how a turbo gauge works. Yeah, I mean, we just touched green and we're in the car in front of us.
And this is certainly great performance in a very usable sedan format, but it's frankly something that Alfa Romeo had been doing since the 1950s.
Yeah.
And BMW really...
I mean, yeah, it pulls strong. All right, Donald, now the big question, I'm trying to figure out what these 3 cars have in common.
Well, Jay, as we saw with our house, Bowery Rose,
right,
this amazing but sort of surprising Italianate house in the middle of Newport, something that you might find in the middle of a city of the 1860s, rather than in Newport, Rhode Island, a beach resort. You have this BMW that looks like the typical BMW small family sedan with this amazing, potent performance engine. You have the Pontiac GTO revived in a totally different and much more sophisticated performance package. And of course, the Porsche 912, which is the new Porsche, but with the old Porsche inside. Of course you get it. Thanks, Jay.
I don't see the connection at all, but it's fun. And I like driving these 3 cars. I wouldn't say these, well, I don't know. I mean, this thing, it almost looks like a circus. It's got TII and turbo written all over it, so you're not going to fool anybody into thinking it's some sedate little sedan, you know? I mean, it just screams. That's always my favorite thing when cars first come out. The Prius had hybrid in giant letters on the door, you know, and just to let you know that, oh, you're aware.
Perhaps Bowery Rose doesn't scream Midtown Italianate townhouse, but nonetheless, there it is in a place where you don't expect it, and you don't expect a small, quiet, square German sedan to give you this kind of performance.
And I did not expect that house to be built in 1853. I would have guessed 1918, 1920.
There you are.
I mean, it seems so far advanced. Yeah.
Thank you very much for acknowledging that you see very clearly my untenuous connection. Thank you, Jay.
I hate to admit it, but yes, I do see the connection.